Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic and a medium, and today I'm going to be doing part 2 of your political questions being answered by my spirit guides. Thank you for joining me today. We're going to get right down to it. People leave their comments. I put out a call for questions on my community page. So that's where you can find these questions. Once you're subscribed, when I put out a call for questions, it should pop up right on your feed. So let's get started. This is part 2. We're going to start off with Marcy, 4287. And Marcy wants to know, when will the Supreme Court rule on Trump eligibility, which we already know it's going to be in February. So that's coming up in a month, basically. And so your question is, will they rule against him in Colorado regarding the 14th Amendment? Will they rule against him in the Colorado case regarding whether he can run, whether he's certifiable? Well, we know he's certifiable, but anyway, whether he really can run as a president. There's a handful of reasons why you cannot run as a president, and having had a part of an insurrection is one of those reasons. So Colorado said, hey, we think this guy's an insurrectionist. We're going to take him off the ballot. He cannot run. He doesn't meet the parameters to run for the United States president. Well, so here we are. It's going before the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has shown that they can move fast like a jackrabbit when they want to. When they want to, they can, because they're doing this in 1 month, because we need to know the answer, because we're going to be going into the primaries and into our voting season here in the United States. So the question is, what will the Supreme Court do? And I feel that the Supreme Court will rule him an insurrectionist. So they will say Colorado stands. If a state wants to take Trump off of the ballot, then that is going to stand. And they're giving me some more information. What are they talking about? There's something I said that isn't right, but I don't know what part of it is not right. Okay, I think I should just say that they're going to rule that they're going to rule for states' rights. I think they're going to rule for states' rights. See, this is the problem right here. This is the problem, because I don't know that it's 100% settled, you guys, because they're actively also saying they're not going to rule, which is the very first thing I got. So I think right now that what's happening is the justices are arguing. And that's what you do. That's what they do. They argue their side. They argue their case. I think right now it's not really settled. And I think Roberts might be the deciding vote. I don't see Thomas recusing himself. I know Democrats have asked him to recuse himself. I think he should recuse himself. Well, I don't even think he should be on the bench. But anyway, he should recuse himself right off the bench is what he should do. But right now, what appears to be happening is there's a lot of internal dialogue. Even the word strife just came up. There's a real, the originalist. I often, the guides always talk about originalist. Those right-wingers on the Supreme Court are originalists. They want to use the original thinking and version of our Constitution and amendments, even though it's very outdated, right? It's an extremely outdated document. That's why we have amendments. That's why it's meant to be a living, breathing, changeable document to adjust and change as the citizens adjust and change. So I do believe that Trump is going to be labeled an insurrectionist. I believe that. That's what I'm hearing. He's going to be labeled an insurrectionist. But there seems to be some other thing that could go wrong, that some other, maybe not go wrong, but be a different opinion or a different twist. There seems to be like a twist to it. But I would say this, because this is the most important thing anyway. It doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter, but it's not going to stop him. Even if he's on the ballot, he's not going to win. So I don't want you guys to think that a ruling that goes against what we want is going to be the end of the world. It's not going to be, again, it's not going to be the end of the world. We're not ever going to be in this exact space again. We may have people that do things in the future, but we're going to pass laws. We're going to really get in. The Democrats are really going to get in. They're really going to add amendments. They really are. We're going to have a window of opportunity. It's not a big window. It's not a long window, but it's a window of opportunity where we can really, literally add amendments. That's a big deal. So whatever they rule, it's not going to affect the final outcome. What it is going to affect is states' rights. Do states have the right to say, and they should, because this is part of our Constitution, we're a republic. This is why the states are the ones that control the elections in their state. That end of story. So for the Supreme Court to do anything different would be a mockery of this. It would be a mockery of the originalist, right? So the Supreme Court really should come down and say Colorado stays, but they don't want to because, well, we know why. We saw where Alina Bob, or whatever the attorney said, well, Trump basically got these people elected and they should stand by him. She said that. Grift, their unethical operations are there for the whole world stage to see. And we're just not having, in my opinion, we're not having enough pushback to that. So you can understand from what she said that the fix is in. You can understand from what she said that these judges are bought and paid for. I'm sorry. You can understand that pretty much, to me, that's an open admission. So this is where we are. The Supreme Court outnumbers those people that are bought and paid for, outnumber the people who aren't bought and paid for. So this is why I think the spirit guides are like, we're not sure how this is going to go down. I think Colorado's going to stay. However, if it doesn't, I don't want you to freak out. It doesn't mean what you think it does. It's just a further commitment, a further understanding of how ridiculously unethical our situation is. It's more evidence. It's another log on the fire. It's not the end of the world. We need to see this. And I think that's in some ways why things keep happening, because we're not reacting. It's like spirits like, put another log on the fire. Maybe they'll see the fires raging now. But we're like, oh, what's for sale? What's on sale? Were you going to try that new restaurant? What is this sports team? What does that celebrity do? We're not paying any attention. So Spirit says, okay, well, let's throw 2 more logs on the fire. So at some point, and this is really the analogy for pretty much all the crap we're dealing with the shootings and everything, is it's going to continue to get worse until people, and I want to say Americans, but it's mostly Americans, till we wake up and we get in the streets and we say, this is enough. For the love of God, what is going on here? We simply will not go to work. We will not be doctors. We will not be teachers. We will not put up with this. We won't. We're not going to do it. We're going to grind this country to a halt until some kind of common sense takes over. So that's where we're going in 24. This is what's on the menu for 24. And I just want you to understand, it's not the end of the world. It's more evidence, and it's another opportunity for us all to wake up to the grift. And you can better believe that if the Supreme Court does not hold up Colorado, then you're going to be looking at a lot of vacancies in the Supreme Court. A lot of vacancies, because this is our Constitution. This is not somebody's grocery list on the back of an envelope. This is the Constitution. Okay. So that's what I would say about that. Donna Gomes says, what is the source of the uncanny level of power 45 wielded over so many in the Republican Party? I mean, it's such a good way to say this. Uncanny source of power. Well, we've talked about this a lot, because, you have on, I'm going to change this. You have on, you have on video many of these people like Mitch McConnell and just any number of very big Republicans saying Trump is a disaster. He's a terrible person. I think even McConnell said, if we don't impeach him, or if we don't do something, then we deserve what we get. And then they turn around usually within 24 hours. they turn around and kiss his ring. It's pretty obvious. I mean, it's literally there on the video for you to see. And the uncanny reason is because they have compromat on them. And there's been books written about this. You don't need to be a psychic to figure this out. They get it, these Republicans and frankly, anybody. Could be anybody. It could be your mayor. It could be police chief, anybody. They invite them to a party. They have what's called a honeypot. This is not anything new. It would be a woman or anything. If you're into anything at all, they present that to you and you feel like, well, I can just be a little wild and crazy right now. And then they video you being wild and crazy through a two-way mirror. You don't even know is a two-way mirror. And then they contact you and they say, by the way, you're going to give us your credit card. We're going to blackmail you, or you're going to do what we need you to do. This stuff happens. It's more common than you think it is. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to get even more common. I feel like this sort of blackmail game is going to be more and more directed to like even local city people, like I said, a mayor or a police chief or a council member even, because if you would probably very happily pay somebody $2,000 to keep your secret from getting out, right? And $2,000 to these people is a lot of money. So that's what's going on. It's compromat. They have dirt. And it's not just like with Lindsay. It's not just that he may be gay or even whatever, he wore a dress, whatever. That's not it. It's criminal, you guys. So the compromat they have on these people would likely put them in jail. So think about anything that might be criminal that this person did. That's real leverage. So that's what's going on with these Republicans. And we've talked about this a lot. It's like a secret societies, even motorcycle gangs. I mean, mob gangs, you're made, right? You're not really in the mob until you're made. How do you get made? You commit a crime. Now, I know you committed the crime. You know I committed a crime. Now we're bound together by our knowledge of the crime. And if I rat you out, you're going to rat me out. So we're checkmated. It keeps everybody in place is what it does. So that's why that's why that's like that. Okay, let's move on. Okay, Robin Dorm Simpson says, are the spirit guides getting tired of all the negativity in the world? And do they find it as exhausting as we do? I agree with you. I find it extremely exhausting. And I'm an empath on top of that. So not only is it exhausting mentally, it's exhausted physically and emotionally for me. But no, they don't find it tiring at all. They see us as, first of all, they're so removed. They're so removed. I think... So what they're telling me is the spirit. So like my spirit guide, your spirit guide, even Trump's spirit guide, right? They have a job. They're dealing with that person's soul path. They're trying to help that person achieve their soul path. Now, I would say there's a higher order of energy that does have a little bit of a worry about us. And then there's another higher order of energy that will not allow us to use nuclear bombs. So that's also good. You can go back to the 50s and you can even the late 40s and you can see where all the ET stuff started around that time. They will not let us blow our planet up, not because they don't want us to kill ourselves, but because that affects other existences. That energetic vibrational shock wave affects other existences. Now, what's interesting is that our planet is out of balance, not in the same way of a nuclear bomb, but out of balance in an energetic way. There's too much, we're out of balance. There's too much hate. There's too much strife. Our planet is never going to be nirvana. Okay, check your ticket. Go get the junk drawer where you put the stamp ticket when you were born here and take a look at it, because it's not nirvana. Wrong planet, honey. Wrong planet. This is meant to be a learning planet. It's always going to have duality. It's always going to be up, down, black, white, right, wrong, whatever. However, there's a limit to how far it should get out of balance. We're way out of balance. So now you have more energies coming in to help, which is good because we need it. So hopefully that makes sense without going too much into spirituality in a political reading. All right, DM3133 says, will Boebert win in her new district? Right now I hear no. And really, this is the energy for voters. They're just fed up. They're even the independents, even the sort of pink Republicans, not the red Republicans, but the pink rhinos, whatever you want to call them. They're just embarrassed by their party. In the last political video I just did, someone asked about Florida, and I said, Floridians are fed up. They're fed up with Republicans. Well, and it's just come to my attention that Floridians now have enough signatures on the ballot to bring abortion rights back to the polls, back to the ballot box. That shows you Floridians are fed up. They're fed up. This is nonsense. This isn't Republican. This is crazy MAGA nonsense, right? So even the Republicans are like, this is nothing like my Republican Party. So Boebert is out. So you're going to see a lot of these people being voted out because it's just a bridge too far. It's just too far right for these people to get behind. And that MAGA group that is psychotic, basically, for lack of a better description, cult fever, they're too small. There's not enough of them to affect change. And the majority of Americans just want things to go back to normal, where women aren't dying in their bathrooms because they are having a miscarriage, or being arrested because they had a miscarriage, or people of color being shot and arrested for no freaking reason, right? Or any number of things, that banning books that you and I grew up with, that our parents grew up with. I mean, it's just, it's crazy. We're living in crazy town right now. And the average American realizes this is crazy town. We don't want any more of this. So that's why these people are going to be voting people like Boebert out. So let's see. Kathy, we have a few metaphysical kind of questions here. How will the Kathy says, how would the eclipse in April affect the MAGA crowd? The eclipse is going to affect all of us. I would really suggest that you get with an astrologer and figure out how it's going to affect you. It's a big deal. It's going to affect a lot of people. Not everybody, because it depends on where the eclipse falls on your own astrology chart. But how it's going to affect the MAGA crowd is it feels, again, they're showing me that I'm just going to talk about this for months. They start on something and they won't stop. Like for several months, they started talking about dissolution. And the problem is the dissolution hadn't even hit yet, but they'll talk about it for 3 months, 6 months before it even happens. So they were like, dissolution. Well, that's what we're going to be doing in 24 is dissolution of organizations, dissolution of whole entities, thought processes, everything. So this eclipse is going to affect us in the same way. And what they show me is the theater. And, you're at the theater and the scene goes black because, the set is being changed. You don't see the magic. Maybe the curtain comes down. But then when the curtain comes back up, boom, it's a whole new set, new players. You're transported even to a new place. That sudden from this to that is how that eclipse is going to affect MAGA. It's literally going to divide them. It's like a lightning strike down the middle of them. I feel that this is kind of a crazy thing to say. What's new? I feel that a lot of the MAGA crowd could be crossing over because it feels like a shock to the system. Like they're getting a shock to their system where they realize maybe just how crazy they've become or just how wrong they are, and they can't square it. They can't, I don't know if you've ever had that in your life where you learn something about yourself or somebody else and you just rocked back on your heels because you're thinking, how does this make any sense? How does this make any sense, right? This is what the MAGA crowd is going to be saying. They're going to have a shock to their system and it's going to divide them. And that's going to further diminish their power. Okay. Now the ones that don't wake up and whatever, say, I don't care about politics. They're all bad. That's the key. Remember, when people say to you, I don't care about politics, they're all bad. That's them saying, I can't stomach this anymore. Therefore, instead of saying I'm wrong, I'm just going to say they're all bad. Just agree with them. It's not an opportunity for you to get in their face and say, there is a difference. It's not. Just say, okay, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. Because when they say that, that indicates they're not going to vote. And we want them to not vote. They're never going to vote for a Democrat anyway. We want them to be so fed up with the Republican and Republican Party for whatever reason that they don't vote. So that's what's going to happen. But the crowd, the little small nexus that is, it's like if you break off part of the Republican Party and they go away, that little small part that's left, they're really, really problematic. They are actionable, meaning they'll take action. They can be radicalized even more. That's the people that we're really going to have to worry about, because that's the center of the center of the center. They're going to be very small. It's going to be a very small group. It's not going to be a big group. And believe me, they're going to be on the radar of law enforcement. And so if you know somebody like that and they get all the way to April and they haven't had their aha moment, they're probably going to run into law enforcement. I think probably 80 to 90% of those law people will run into law enforcement because they're going to be acting out they're crazy. They might be shouting at people or, just acting out. So they're going to be dealt with. And that's how we're going to get to November. We're just going to deal with it this summer. And by November, things are going to be calmer. Thank God. Let's see. And Joni said that this eclipse goes right through the red states too, which is interesting, right? All right. Vicky says, does Trump see or know his fate right now that's coming? He does. And I talked about this, I think, in some video. There's a video of him on New Year's Eve night. Oh, I was with Kevin, Loving Vibrations, doing a live video. And he's great. He's a really super good reader. And Spirit had shown me this video because I pretty much just whatever pops in is what I don't go looking for things. In other words, so New Year's Eve night at Mar-a-Lago, you guys, I kid you not when I say that they had not Kid Rock. They had Vanilla Ice. They had Vanilla Ice singing Ice Ice Baby, which kind of I think makes sense because Trump is going to be iced. And they had a Ninja Turtle, an adult Ninja Turtle, full costume on stage. This was their New Year's Eve rocking, entree into 2024. But the video of Trump, he's not doing his accordion thing. He's not. God, for the love of God, if you guys ever see me in public dancing like this, come up behind me. Somebody put a Star Trek sleeper hold on me. I don't know what y'all do. Shoot me with something and get me out of the public. I'm counting on you. Do not let me do this in public. If I'm doing this in public, obviously something's really wrong with me. So anyway, Trump was not doing his dance. He was just sulking. Come on, this whole celebration was for him, and he's sulking because he knows this is the last, truly, and he knows this is the last New Year's Eve he will be wearing a suit or any clothes of his own choosing. After this, his favorite color is going to be orange. Okay, so he knows, and he knows maybe without knowing, or maybe he's not fully accepting it, but he knows he was not partying. He looked mad. He looked dejected. The man knows. And your next question is, will we as a nation learn to forgive? That's what the guides told me before all this went down, before Trump and before COVID. They gave me the vision of us walking, meaning us, people that have good hearts or light in our souls or whatever you want to call it. We were walking and I was prompted to turn around. And when I turned around, this person was walking up to me, and I knew energetically that this was a vision I had, right? Okay. So they were dejected. They had embarrassed themselves. They had lost everything. They had lost their license, their business license. They had lost their job. They had lost their family. They had lost their house. They had lost everything. including their respect. And they were seeking help. And I turned around and I knew I was supposed to turn around and offer my hand to them and help them. Now, that was before Trump. And here we are. That's what I think this is these Trumpers. They're your family members. They're your neighbors. They might be, who knows who they might be in your life. If you come to me and you say, I've lost everything, I was a fool, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you, right? And I think we will help them. I think we will learn to forgive. If you come to me and cuss me out and tell me I'm crazy or I'm the devil or something, I'm probably not going to help you. But if you come to me and you're really genuinely sincere about needing help, I think Americans will. I think people will. I think in general, really, we're more good than bad. We're more good than bad. So yes, I do think we're going to learn to forgive. It's a process. It's not going to be snap overnight. It's not going to be that. It's going to be a process. I think it's going to take maybe even years, but I think we will do it. Next question is from Denise G. What do the guides say about a government shutdown? Because once again, Congress cannot agree to put the needs of the nation above their own political agendas. If we do have a shutdown, how long might it last? Right now, this is the anniversary of January 6th. This is something else we should probably be talking about because it's 1/6/2024. Right now, I hear there won't be a shutdown. Avoid it. I'm hearing they're going to avoid it, like a midnight, like a last minute. I feel like we're going to avoid it. I could be wrong because this is all free will, and these power centers, you have the Freedom Caucus, you have all these power centers duking it out, but Steve Scalise is now out of Congress because he's got cancer. And did you hear that he is getting stem cell therapy and he voted against stem cell therapy, but that's what's saving his life? He's going to be out through February, but everybody that I know that's in the medical profession say he's probably going to be out through the summer. He's not going to be voting. And we had another guy step down, another congressperson step down in January. So in later this month. So, the Republicans have less and less power, honestly. But the guides are saying that the Freedom Caucus still wields a lot of power. And they're right now, the energy suggests that they're sort of bowing up. They're sort of creating this kind of defensive energy because of Trump. They want to try to protect Trump and MAGA and Trumpism. So they feel like they need to fight more. That's why this whole trip to the border, this is the whole trip, trying to have some kind of relevancy to the American people to say, hey, Republican brand is still on. Republican brand is still what you want. So I think going forward, we're going to see more brand. We're going to see more bravado from the Republicans. It's sort of like they showed me a picture of like a Viking going off a cliff, but screaming a Viking yell as they go in the air to their death. You know what I mean? So it's like the last scream before they're in, they're not relevant. They're insignificant before they're insignificant. But it is going to be a last roar that they're going to do. But right now, I feel like it could change. But I feel like right now it's not a government shutdown. It could change though. Because what's his name? Johnson, he doesn't care. He wants to, it's almost like they know they're going down anyway. So dead man walking. They don't care. Let's take as much down with us as we can. We know we only have 6 months to rule. Let's do as much damage as we can. That's the energy from the Republican Party right now. So it's hard for me to know. I would say right now, I don't see a shutdown. If I do, if it does happen, it's not long. It's not long. Okay. Because again, the moneyed interest has already gone to Nikki Haley. They're not even behind Trump. The money is behind Nikki Haley. The money is behind the economy. The economy's rocking. So the Republican money people are not for these yahoos. So I think maybe enough of the regular Republicans can be persuaded to sort of, do the right thing. Whew, that's crazy. Okay, let's see. Let me move on. Vicky Hansen says, will we ever see Ivana Trump coffins exhumed? What is in there besides ashes? I've read on this a lot. Other people have read on this. I feel the energy suggests that something is in the coffin and it ain't her. It's not her. And I feel like it could be in the sides, like in between like the wood and the cushion. There's something in there. And I've read on this a lot that this family, they bury things in the ground. They hide things in the ground. I don't know why. This is just what they do. Like, so let's say you have documents, you'd put them in a Folgers, and I mean, seriously, a tin can. Maybe if somebody's upgraded, they could put it in a piece of Tupperware so it's at least waterproof instead of putting it in a trash bag in a tin can. But these people are older, so maybe that's the way the mob did it in the 60s. I don't know. But so they would bury it. So this makes sense to me. What will it ever be exhumed? I do see them exhuming it. I do see them exhuming it. I see them exhuming. I see cadaver dogs and a metal detector. Now, that's bizarre because we know there's not a cadaver in there because we know she was cremated. But I'm telling you, I see cadaver dogs and a metal detector in that. They're showing me the grave, and behind the grave, I think there must be some bushes or something, like a hedgerow or something like that. Yeah, I think they may be looking even in New Jersey and in New York. Maybe this golf course is in New Jersey. I don't know. They're telling me New Jersey, New York, there could be cadaver dog. They could be looking for remains. There are remains. I just got that. Okay, I'm going to move on because I don't want to get myself in trouble. Okay, let's see here. Miss Luss has a question about Leader Johnson and the 14-year-old kid. So we've also done a reading on this in the past too. So according to himself, he's talked about this on videos. He quote unquote adopted an African-American kid who was 14 at the time. Now, what's unclear, because he said two different things on two different public videos. On one video, he said he was married. On another video, he said he wasn't. At any rate, he was very young, maybe even just, like double the age of this kid, like he could have been in his 20s. And, but it turns out he did not officially adopt this kid. And it turns out that there's an organization that it's a religious organization that acts like a big brother, big sister kind of thing. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. It's weird. It's weird. And it's weird that all of these people have these kids. You know what I mean? Like Gates has his kid. It's weird. So what is the energy behind it? I've read before. This kid is now, I don't know, 30s, 40s. I don't know how old he is now. He's an adult. He's, I think, asked to not get involved. He's asked to be left out of this. And I think that Johnson has a lot of skeletons in his closet, and I think that those are going to come out. Maybe or maybe not. Let me put it to you this way. Not so much this gentleman, this guy who was a kid. I mean, I think he's going to be in it, but I think there's going to be other skeletons that are going to come out. But I see him stepping down from leader or being voted out from leadership, maybe in March, around the springtime. And then I see him quietly disappearing. This is what these Republicans are doing. Like the guy that retired, they're quietly disappearing. And this is what the spirit guide said last year. They said spring of 24, that these Republicans would start dropping out. They would start retiring, not running for office. We've seen a lot of that. The heat is on them, and they want to get away from the heat. And they think that by limiting their public exposure, that they're going to have less heat on them. That is not the case. However, it will help them in the sense that they don't have to be embattled while in the public eye. It's easier to sort of go through these motions when you don't have TV cameras pointed at you. So I see Johnson stepping down and stepping aside. And they just showed me Louisiana, which is where he's from, and an alligator. So he has alligator energy, whatever that spiritually, whatever that means to you people that follow animal totems. That is what's coming in for him. So that would be kind of fascinating to know about as well. Craig Reed says, when is the government going to break up all these megalithic monopolistic corporations? The last time anyone did that was when Jimmy Carter broke up AT&T into 32 little companies, and suddenly the phone service improved and prices dropped due to sudden competition. Yes, you know, it's interesting. Congress has just not been very pushy about this. They haven't wanted to shake things up. Right now, their spirit guides are showing me I don't know if it already went through, but there was a merger, right, between two airlines, two smaller airlines that were going to merge together. And not only Congress, but there's a governmental agency that looks into this and says, is this going to improve competition or hinder competition? Because competition is what keeps the prices down, according to the way we do, way our economy works here in the United States. So I do see this happening, though, because people are starting to catch on to the fact that the inflation wasn't kept high for reasons that, you know, it normally is kept high. It was kept high because corporations were making bank. Corporations were making bank on us, even when the chips were down. And then after the pandemic, they continued to make bank on us. That is, believe me when I say, I know it looks like the public is asleep, and this is worldwide. It looks like the public is asleep. They're not asleep. They're going to wake up, and they're going to get in the streets, and there's going to be a reset. You know, we had that Wall Street thing where people went and camped out at Wall Street. That was like a blip on the radar screen. We're about to have, and I've already said it in this video, we're about to have a real serious civil rights movement, but not only just civil rights, just people rights. A people movement is about to hit the United States. And we've talked about this in the past a lot. We talked about Iran and their people movement. Other countries are going to have the same thing. This isn't just relegated to the United States. This has a lot to do with our astrology. But we're going to start breaking these companies up. I believe Fox News is going to get broken up for a lot of reasons. I feel like Elon Musk may be unseated from president of his company. I think you're going to start seeing a dissimulation, you know, a breaking apart of the power structures, because the power structures have a grip on our Supreme Court. They have a grip on a lot of our politics. And we're starting to see that. We're starting to see this is not good. So you're going to start seeing more attention paid even to dark money, but definitely these corporations are going to start getting broken up. And they may even look into Amazon. You're going to see some pretty surprising things. Now, when you're making decisions, sometimes you make the wrong decision. I mean, I just all of a sudden saw them looking at the internet. They've talked a lot about the internet, right? They may overdo it or underdo it. It's messy. Nothing is perfect. We just have to know that it's a process. And sometimes we're not going to be happy with the product of it. And sometimes we're going to be thrilled with it. But if we're not happy, that doesn't mean go home and give up. It means stay in the game, stay involved, stay energized, and say, look, you tried to do this, but it's not working. Let's go back and do it again. This is really what we're going into, is people power. So hopefully that answers your question. Fiber Art says, will the pillow guy get in any trouble for Jan 6? Seems like he fell off the radar. He fell off the radar because his money's gone. They took his money. literally ruined him, bankrupted him for his own acts, his own stupidity. So this is what we're saying about these Republicans becoming, going underground. So you don't see what they're going through. It doesn't mean they're not going through something. It just means it's not in the public eye. He will get in trouble. He's in big trouble, and it's not over yet. There were a lot of civil judgments against him, but it's not over yet. He's going to play in Jack Smith's case. I'm seeing a picture of that pillow guy right outside of those French doors that go, I think, into the Oval Office. There's French doors, and the French doors are on the left, and he's standing here, and he's got papers, and he's walking down this sort of sidewalk. And I think what they're trying to tell me is he was Trump's inner circle. He was in Trump's inner circle. Therefore, he's going to be on the stage. And he doesn't do well on the stage. He's not used to people questioning him. So yeah, he's got a lot coming for him, and it's going to be pivotal. And because he's so bombastic, he's so bombastic. He's going to not look good on the witness stand. He's going to argue. He's just gonna basically dig his own grave. It's not going to be good. Magnanimous One says, what does the guide see for the future of cryptocurrency? Seems like it's here to stay at this point, yet still seems sketchy. I agree with you. I know a lot of people invest in crypto and swear by crypto and all of that. But I'm going to tell you that and I think this freaks people out. It doesn't freak me out, but I don't know why. There's going to be a little bit of a world currency, and that really freaks people out, honestly. But I'm not saying that the dollar's going anywhere. It's not. I'm saying that we are going to have a digitized monetary system. And I believe that either crypto is going to get absorbed into this federal monetized system, or it's going to be regulated within an inch of its little life, and that's going to make it less appealing to people. So that's what I see cryptocurrency. It's going to either get absorbed into our monetary system, organized and regulated by the Fed, or it's going to be much more regulated, and I mean much more regulated than it is now. It cannot continue the way it is. Okay, so some of the smaller players are going to drop out. It's going to coalesce. It's going to come into the bigger players, and the smaller players are just going to fall out, especially when that regulation starts happening. When things are regulated and you're a small business, you oftentimes just can't afford to meet the regulations because you don't have the money to hire the extra auditors or to buy the extra equipment or whatever it is to meet that regulation. So that's just going to be a natural winnowing of that structure of monetary system. So hopefully that makes sense. And as far as the world currency goes, maybe not. It's sort of like with Brexit, like the euro. You know what I mean? It's sort of like the euro. The euro is something that's accepted in many places, and certainly the dollar is accepted in almost every place, right? So when I say world currency, you can almost think of the dollar as a world currency, although I think it's going to be digital. I think that we're going to have a digital world currency that's going to be linked up to, say, 5 different banks, which is kind of a conglomeration, right? It's kind of a monopoly, but that's what I see. Everything is going to go digital. Our passports, our IDs, our money, everything is going to go into this digital sort of whatever it is, a hologram. I don't know. Maybe it's a card. And of course it's going to have to be very, very safe, not hackable, in other words, but it's going to make everything easier. Imagine as we go, we're going to be world citizens. We're going to be able to travel. This is what happened with the European Union, right? They said, okay, you guys can all travel and work in these countries. It's meant to allow for that kind of flow and ebb of citizenry. And this is what I see happening more and more and more. So let's see. So user says, will the border crossing crisis cause a problem for Biden during the elections in November? I don't think so. I don't think so. It's funny. I'm getting no, but I'm asking them why, because of course, Speaker Johnson and everybody else was just at the border recently, filming that and making that newsworthy. I feel like Biden, right. Okay, right. So that's why. So Biden already, the Democrats have already said, let's do something about the border. Let's get some money together. Here's a new law. And the Republicans voted against it. They're telling the Democrats we're not going to vote for it. They would rather run on it than fix it, right? They create the problem, then they make a big deal about the problem, and then when somebody wants to solve the problem, they don't want to solve it because that's what they're running on. So then the Democrats get to run on the fact that we voted this, they didn't. And how many times? It's just like Scalise with stem cell treatment. He voted against it, yet he was the first person to line up for it. These Republicans vote against all the stuff in their hometown, the transportation or the all of the work that's done on the roads. They vote against it. And then when somebody's there doing the work with the money that Biden and the Democrats provided, they're the ones over there, taking credit for it. So this is going to be the lesson for Democrats in 24. You have to get out there and prove to people that these Republicans voted against this. You're going to have to spend more money. The Democrats are going to have to spend more money. They're going to have to get out there all the time, telling the truth. So I don't see the border being a problem for the Democrats, but it could be a better bonus for them, depending on how much money they're going to spend and how much they're going to be able to get out in front of the American people and say, we want to solve this problem. Personally, I see Biden doing something on his own through, his own, whatever power he has as president. I mean, I'm serious. I think Biden will just get out there and say, well, the Republicans are over here bitching and screaming. I'm over here doing the work. Here I am in Texas, in Arizona. Here I am doing the work. So I think that's what you're going to see with Biden. And I'm going to welcome that. So I just don't think they're going to have they're not going to get the traction that they think they're going to get with this stuff. Again, people have caught on to them. Truly, people have caught on to them. They're so sick and tired of hearing the same old thing over and over again. Linda Aragon says, now this is interesting because we've all read on this and I've read on it a bunch of times. And her question is, do you see Trump escaping the U.S. in 2024? Now, this is interesting because there's a newspaper which you can't trust any more than you can pick them up and throw them. But it says, Trump says that he's gonna leave the country if the Supreme Court doesn't treat him right, or if somebody doesn't treat him right, he's going to leave the country. Well, I've seen that energy. He does want to leave the country. Trump is not a dummy. Okay. Now he might smell bad, but he's not a dummy. You don't get to this place being a complete fool. He's crafty. He's a strategist. So he has backup plans to his backup plans. He's not just sitting there thinking, I'm going to take this. I'm going to go to jail. He's thinking, what do I do to get out of this? What's plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, plan F, plan Z? He's got plans on top of his plans. And you better believe at the last minute when they're putting those handcuffs on him, he'll still be trying to throw somebody under the bus. It might be Ivanka before, she might be the last person he throws under the bus, but he'll throw her under the bus at the last minute. So yeah, he's planning on fleeing. I don't see him fleeing. There's no country. I did have a vision last year of Saudi Arabia, of MBS, the prince, saying, I found this in the backyard. You know what I mean? Like when the ball goes over in the cranky lady's backyard or the cranky dude's backyard, and and your kids are like looking through the fence going, we'll never see the ball again, right? Because they just get mad. They get mad if anybody, ends up on their property. Well, I saw this picture of MBS holding something, and I thought it's either papers or Trump. It's something like he's either holding Trump by the scruff of the collar, or he's holding these papers and he calls Biden and he says, I found something you've been looking for. And he calls Biden directly, like on the bat phone. And Biden is like, this is not how we do this, dude. You need to go through the diplomatic channels. Do not call me again. And hangs up, because Biden wants everything on the up and up. He's not going to make a backroom deal with somebody like that, especially not over Trump. So I see MBS sending through diplomatic channels, which is also secret. The diplomatic channels can be secret as well. But I see MBS basically giving us something that would be embarrassing. So he could run off to Saudi Arabia, but really and truly, Qatar would be better because Qatar doesn't have an extradition with the United States. But I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. I think 24 is the year where you can say anything can happen. I mean, anything can happen. Anything. We're all going to be saying, I didn't have that on my bingo card. I didn't see that coming. But I don't see this happening. I don't see him successfully getting away. The way I saw him getting away was honestly to Cuba, because Cuba's, less than 100 miles from him or something like that. It's very close. So he could get in a boat and get to Cuba very quickly. He could get on a little plane and get to Cuba. Once he's in Cuba, he can be obscured. He can go anywhere because nobody's going to know. Cuba's not going to tell us. We got your president over here. There's no passport control. You can go to Cuba and they won't even stamp your passport if you're an American because they know you're not supposed to go to Cuba. So you can pretend like you were never there. It's a place where you can go and not be there. So, but from Cuba, he doesn't stay in Cuba. From Cuba, he can go anywhere. If he were going to go, that's what I would see. I do think they're monitoring him. I think he would have already gone to Scotland. He would have already gone to other places. He'd already be in Saudi Arabia. If he could travel freely, he would already have been traveling freely. That man used to travel all the time. He hasn't traveled since all this went down. He hasn't been to Saudi Arabia since all this went down. He hasn't been to a Scotland golf course since all this went down. His daughter had to change her wedding. Her wedding was going to be in Scotland. I think Tiffany, she changed her wedding to the United States. I think they already put the kibosh on his travel. Now, will he try it? Probably, because he's going to try anything. But I don't think he's going to be successful. And if he is, he's going to be returned. With a little note, please send back to United States. Okay, one more question. This is a great question. Spiritual Healing says, I'm no legal eagle or anything, but can they complete trials post-mortem? So in other words, let's say Trump doesn't make it and he cashes his chips in and he's not here. And we've got, we need justice, right? We need justice. We have 5 trials lined up that Americans need to understand. Is this allowed? What does the law say? What does the court of law say? What do juries, what do peers, jury of your peers say about this? So can they complete the trials post-mortem? What the guides, and I'm no legal eagle either, but the guides are saying is that the trials will continue without Trump, but Trump will be featured in the trials because he will have been part of the trials of, say, Roger Stone, right? Or Mike Flynn, or the pillow guy. Trump and Trump's evidence is going to be permissible in those trials because Trump is not on trial. Trump is not on trial, but his evidence can be used against those people. And in that way, you can infer that Trump would have been guilty because we found Roger Stone guilty, Mike Flynn guilty, the pillow guy guilty. And I don't think those people's pardons are going to hold. I think Trump is going to be found as illegitimate president. And I think all the pardons are going to be null and void. So hello, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, and whoever else all got pardons. Looks like you're not safe anymore, right? You're not safe from Lady Justice. She's coming for you anyway, right? So that's going to be the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching to the end. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys are doing well, and I will see you soon for psychic news you can use. Yes, it's coming to a theater near you. Stay tuned, subscribe to make sure you don't miss it, and I'll see you again real soon. For entertainment purposes only.